If you have been on a spiritual or healing journey for a while, then the odds are that you have come across this moment in time when you feel exhausted and you feel like you're circling the version of you that you want to become, but you just can't seem to just step into it. Like you're studying and preparing and learning how to be and live and be a normal human more than you are actually doing it. At the same time, there is this duality that all of the places that I've been, even when it seems like I was looping and striving, were necessary for me to reach that point of total surrender and release. And it kind of reminds me of the Buddha. He left his palace and he saw the suffering of the world, and then he set out on his intense healing journey until he finally sat down under the Bodhi tree and he just was. Could the story have worked if he had left the palace, saw the suffering, and sat down? Would he have allowed his ego, his mind, would he have been able to rest if he hadn't first did all of the striving? I pose this not as another belief system for you to adopt in this ocean of opinions, but something to contemplate, and always with the end goal of being gentle with yourself, because there is this mysterious map. Nobody can figure out the underlying force of what is driving nature. But if you pay attention to your life, if you follow the breadcrumbs backwards, you realize that there has always been a reason for even the places that you thought were dead ends. What I find is paying attention to the underlying energy behind the actions that I'm doing. So it could be that I'm reading a Adyashanti book, or I'm listening to a Ram Dass lecture, or I've signed up for a tarot reading. If underneath that action is a forceful, striving, compulsive, I need to know energy, that's the indicator that I'm looping. If I'm doing it, holding it lightly, there is not that tension. There's not that over-reliance that I must get an answer. This must be the next mind-blowing thing. If it's for the pure enjoyment, what I want to do just because it's what I like to do, then now I'm working with myself in my healing journey and I'm not at odds with myself. This idea that you have to really work against yourself and become an enemy to all of your bad habits, that's necessary to change, is just not true. In fact, you'll find that it's much more enjoyable, much more easy, and that you can finally step into without even trying. No effort required. You looked around and, oh, I've become that easygoing me that trusts in the flow of life, that trusts in myself, that can stop and smell the roses because I trust. And when you trust, you can play in the world. And if you're someone who finds themselves jumping from tarot video to tarot video, or tarot reader, or astrology video to astrology video, I have been there. And who knows? Maybe that's exactly what you need to experience, and most likely that's exactly what you need to experience. But is it possible that this is a moment in time where grace can come in and where you can be brutally honest and present and take a look at the underlying energy? And if energy is too elusive of a word, because I know that was something that I came across, being super logical minded, being almost atheist when I first started my spiritual journey, words like resonate, ground, center, hold space, which I know is a joke with Ariana Grande. I totally get that. I understand that perspective because I remember being there and being like, this is so abstract. Now I have the lived experience when I know, oh, I know what I feel like when I'm grounded. I know what I feel like when I'm centered. I know that steadiness, this energy that I have embodied. And hold space. If you've ever been in a position where you have totally broke down in front of another person and they did not have an ounce of rejection towards you, then you know what it feels like to be in a place where space has been held for you. And this is no longer this elusive, meaningless, empty phrase. It has lived experience in the body, in your emotional body, and in your heart. And that's what the journey is all about, is continuing to come to these scenarios that keep bringing you to know yourself more and more and more. And it turns out that that's not separate than knowing the divine. And that's why I went from someone who would have considered themselves atheist to now I am like completely in the culture of the I am one consciousness, and there is a force greater than me that is driving everything that I do and say, and I can relax into it. But it was a 5-year-long process to allow myself to feel that I was worthy of it, that it was possible, that it could be that easy. All of the different things that we tell ourselves and the doubt that comes in. And as someone who I didn't just seek, it wasn't just me going to get tarot readings. I became the tarot reader, the Akashic reader, the Reiki healer, the astrologer. Like, I took seeking to the extreme. And I have driven myself mad with life's questions, and realizing that I got to the point where I did psychedelics, and I realized that what we observe is not separate from us. And so I'm trying to get information from the outside in, and it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, what is life? What is everything? All of that was needed and necessary for me to finally say, I give up. I don't know. I'm not gonna know. I'll tell you the moment exactly when it happened. I saw myself from a bird's eye view. I saw all of my books and all of my notebooks, and I was really sick of myself because I saw how I was studying and studying and striving more than I was actually just experiencing and just living. And I thought, what book will be enough for me? What YouTube video will be enough for me? When will I be enough? And it was actually extremely dark, that feeling. It was totally hopeless, because you can imagine, after being so devoted and spending from sun up to sundown working on myself for years, and that's not an exaggeration. I took an entire year off work just to work on myself. I used to have self-help videos just playing in the background, getting subliminals and affirmations, like no time. I couldn't waste any time. And now I'm listening to Mariah Carey and just dancing and getting up to make myself a snack, like things that seem so easy, but it's this effortlessness now, and enjoying and actually allowing myself pleasure. And how I saw that this was a way for me to deny myself pleasure, which was again another indoctrination of what we think we deserve when it comes to that. So it was a grace that I saw it, but it was really hard for me to come to terms with. So I decided to do this radical change. I made these note cards. I don't have them with me, but I made a big stack of note cards, and I wrote, because I didn't really know how to be. It's like, if it's not this, I don't know what the alternative is. I don't know just how to be a human. So I made these note cards with different tasks, and it was like, go on a walk, make some tea, try a new recipe, buy yourself a new outfit, get your makeup done, or even something very simple like light a candle, light an incense. And I would shuffle these cards every day, and I would ask my soul, what do you want to do today? And I'd let the cards fly out. And even if it was something I didn't really feel like doing, I was very committed to this. Now I've switched the devotion from like mental challenges to a physical. But what ended up happening was that one evening I'm following my task, and it seemed like it was working because I was doing kind of unusual things, and I was exploring my neighborhood, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm living. Well, this particular night, my cat decides to meow his head off, and he's just meow, meow, meow. And he had food, he had water, he didn't want me to console him, and it went on forever. It went on forever, and I'm like, no, but I gotta get this done. I just couldn't keep it together. I couldn't keep it together, and I broke down, and I cracked. And I was like, kind of talking to the cat, but also to like just the universe, and I was like, give me a break. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I've tried everything. And it was an instant release. Like, it was just like this weight lifted. It was the moment when I said, like, I realized that this is beyond me and my control. The moment that the term surrender truly made sense to me in the body. I still listen to Ram Dass, and I still love to read, I'm reading Autobiography of a Yogi right now, and I'm still in that, what you might call seeking, but there's not a dark compulsion under it. It's so much lighter. And it's like Eckhart Tolle says, it takes time to realize that it takes no time at all. And the version of me right now that's like taking it easy, I don't have anything now that I didn't have then. I just didn't know it, or I wouldn't allow myself to know it. I had to embark on that internal quest to allow myself to feel like, okay, now I deserve ease. I find that it's about the internal journey and the internal landscape that you take yourself. And yes, it manifests outwardly and life changes happen, but it's like paying attention to the emotional world and undercurrent as these things are happening, because that is what composes your experience and your life and your perspective, which is all that is true to you. I hope that I release now a series of different specific moments in time when these concepts really took form for me. Go through a lot of the ego traps that I fell into, that it might serve for your own aha moments and for your own experience. And maybe, if nothing else, that it just makes you feel less alone and less unnatural. Because everything that you do, you are part of nature. There's not one thing that you could do that's unnatural. And that you have a space and a resource where you feel like nothing is insurmountable.